So now, as you can see, my workspace is now the lighter gray. This is about the same color, I think, that the CS5 was. But now in CS6, you have 4 choices of colors for your workspace. And if you're on a PC, it's going to be, well, on a Mac, I went to Photoshop Preferences Interface. But on a PC, I think it's going to be Edit Preferences is going to be somewhere down here. It's a little bit different. So just to be aware, in the book, I think they give you both examples for Mac or PC. And then another thing is that before in CS5, the panels kind of used to be floating around, whereas now, by default, they kind of stick in place. So everything moves together as a whole, but you can still yank things off like I just did. Like you can yank off the, what do they call this? The display window? The document window, that's right. Because this is my document, the equal JPEG is my document, and I can move around that window and I can pop it back into place too. I can yank out any of these panels actually and move them around and put them back. If they're getting annoying, let's see, can I put it back? This one's not popping. Come on. Anyway, I'll just ignore that for now. The other ones seem to work really well. What's really cool in the textbook is that there's a breakdown of all these panels because you have a lot of panels in Photoshop. They're all under Windows and they're named in alphabetical order. And in the book, it gives you a definition of everything that they do, and that's really cool. And it also gives you, it names all of the tools here in the toolbar and everything. So, and this is the tool options bar, the one that changes every time I pick a different tool, then it changes to correspond with the options that that tool can do, the different options that it has. So yeah, anyway, I highly recommend looking at the book for that. They have really good diagrams. I like that one of the first things the book talks about is saving the image as something else first. So file save as, and then also creating a new folder for it. So I'm going to do that. I think it's a really good idea. Where's my desktop? Yes, I like to put stuff on my desktop, but I move it later, so it's not too crazy. I just like knowing where it's going to be. Okay, so I'm going to call this Eagle and call it, so it doesn't get mixed up with the other Eagle one. Call it Eagle Edited. Eagle Edited. So you can type in whatever you want. And the thing is here, under Format, this little option, when you click here, there's a million different types of formatting for your document. If you want to do if you want to have a document with lots of layers, then you need to save it as a Photoshop document. If you save it as a JPEG, it just flattens it to whatever it looks like at the moment. In this case, we can leave it as a JPEG. And there's a lot of different file extensions. And I think the ones that you just need to pay attention to are Photoshop, JPEG, and TIFF is also really recommended, because what happens when you save a file as a JPEG is that it decreases in file size every time, just like gradually. You might not even notice. But if you are an avid photographer and you care a lot about image quality, then you'd probably want to save it as a TIFF. If you save it as a Photoshop, it also keeps the quality the same. So if you have layers, you have to save it as a Photoshop anyway. If you don't have layers, you want to flatten it down, but you want to keep it a really high quality, save it as a TIFF. If you have it in Camera Raw, they have Photoshop Raw too. Photoshop Raw and Camera Raw has to do with, I think Raw. I'm not super knowledgeable about the difference, but Raw is, I think, like 10 times bigger than a JPEG. So Raw is the biggest, then TIFF, then JPEG. I think your usual JPEGs are a couple megabytes, few megabytes, but then your RAW files can be 20 megabytes.